If you bought a 100-room luxury hotel in downtown Miami today, you would spend your entire life worrying about leaking roofs, broken air conditioners, high staff payrolls, and fickle tourists who leave bad reviews online. But while sophisticated investors fight over fancy real estate, a quiet group of private equity moguls is quietly buying up patches of gravel, dirt roads, and trailer parks in small-town America. They aren't buying the houses. They are buying the ground underneath them. And this simple, almost invisible distinction has created one of the most profitable, recession-proof wealth machines in modern financial history. To see how this works in the real world, let's look at a real-world scenario. Imagine a park called Oak Ridge sitting just outside Columbus, Ohio. Built back in 1974 by a local couple, Frank and Mary, Oak Ridge houses 80 families. Frank built the paved loop, dug the water trenches, and let residents bring in their own manufactured homes. For 40 years, Frank collected $300 a month from each family, just for the right to park their homes on his dirt. Frank was happy, the residents were happy, and the rent barely changed for decades. Then, a corporate private equity firm buys Oak Ridge from Frank for $3 million. To the average person, paying $3 million for a dusty plot of land filled with 30-year-old metal homes looks like a massive financial mistake. But the corporate buyers aren't looking at the rust on the siding. They see a gold mine protected by a mathematical trap. When you invest in a standard apartment complex, you are buying the physical building. If a refrigerator stops working at midnight, the tenant calls you. If the roof leaks after a thunderstorm, you pay $20,000 to replace it. You are trapped in a constant cycle of maintenance expenses that swallow up to 50% of your rental income. Mobile home parks operate on a completely different set of rules. In a community like Oak Ridge, the park owner owns 0 houses. The residents own their homes, while the landlord owns the dirt beneath them. If a resident's kitchen pipe bursts, they fix it themselves. If their roof leaks, it's their financial problem. The owner's entire operational responsibility is limited to maintaining a simple asphalt road, keeping the main water line pressurized, and cutting the grass near the front sign. This model completely flips the traditional real estate balance sheet. Operating costs in a typical mobile home park sit at a ridiculously low 20 to 30% of gross revenue. But the real magic and the dark secret of this business lies in what happens when the new corporate owner decides to raise the rent. You might wonder why a tenant wouldn't simply pack up, hook their mobile home to a pickup truck, and drive away if the rent goes up. The answer lies in a massive historical irony. Mobile homes are not mobile. Back in the 1950s, these units were small, lightweight aluminum trailers that could be towed behind a family station wagon. Today, a modern manufactured home is a multi-ton, double-wide structure anchored directly into concrete foundations. Moving one requires a team of specialized contractors, hydraulic jacks, structural permits, police escorts, and heavy flatbed trucks. The cost to move a single manufactured home just 10 miles routinely ranges from $8,000 to $15,000. Now put yourself in the shoes of a resident at Oak Ridge. Most of the people living here are fixed-income retirees, veterans, or working-class families living paycheck to paycheck. When the new corporate owner sends a letter announcing that the monthly lot rent is increasing from $300 to $500, the residents face a devastating mathematical wall. Coming up with $10,000 in cash to move a $20,000 home is an absolute impossibility. They are stuck. The cost of escaping the rent hike is vastly higher than paying the increase itself. In commercial real estate, this is called extreme pricing power. In standard apartments, a 20% rent hike causes half your tenants to leave. In a mobile home park, you can raise rents year after year, and your occupancy rate will remain at nearly 100%. The tenants are locked in by sheer economic gravity. And yet, while this system guarantees predictable, avalanche-like cash flow, the corporate buyers at Oak Ridge were about to discover a ticking time bomb buried 6 feet under the dirt, one that could instantly wipe out their multi-million-dollar investment. To understand the financial trap waiting beneath the surface at Oak Ridge, you first have to look at how the new corporate owners turn a modest property into a cash-generating engine. Immediately after taking over, the corporate playbook goes into full effect. The first step is addressing the artificially low rents left behind by the previous owners. Frank had kept lot rent at $300 out of personal relationships with his neighbors. The new corporate managers have no emotional ties to the community. They instantly raised the lot rent to $550 per month across all 80 plots. Overnight, the park's monthly gross revenue shoots up from $24,000 to $44,000. That represents an extra $240,000 in annual income created with a single signature. Next, the managers look at the utility bills. Under Frank, the park paid for communal water, sewer, and trash services out of the base rent. The new corporate team hires a contractor to install individual submeters on every single home. Now water and sewer bills are passed directly to the residents. The park's operating expenses drop dramatically, while the residents absorb an extra $100 in monthly living costs. In commercial real estate, property values are calculated using a simple formula: net operating income divided by the market cap rate. By boosting rent and stripping away utility costs, the corporate owners effectively doubled the net income of Oak Ridge in less than 12 months. Without pouring a single gallon of fresh concrete or building a single house, the financial valuation of Oak Ridge jumps from $3 million to over $6 million. On paper, the investment looks like an unqualified triumph. The corporate fund can now take this newly inflated property value to a commercial bank, refinance the mortgage, pull out millions of dollars in tax-free equity, and use that capital to acquire 3 more mobile home parks in the next state over. This financial engine explains why major private equity funds and international investment groups have poured billions of dollars into mobile home parks over the last decade. They recognize that while shiny office towers lose tenants during economic downturns, affordable housing demand rises during every recession. Mobile home parks sit at the absolute bottom floor of unsubsidized housing. If a family is priced out of a mobile home park, their next alternative isn't a cheaper apartment, it is a homeless shelter or living in a car. However, just as the owners of Oak Ridge were preparing to execute their refinance strategy, disaster struck underground. Unlike modern suburban developments connected to municipal utility grids, older parks like Oak Ridge were built in unincorporated rural areas. That meant Frank had to build his own private water filtration plant and install a massive underground septic field back in 1974. For 50 years, those original metal pipes and concrete tanks quietly decayed under the heavy weight of incoming delivery trucks and shifting topsoil. One morning, the main distribution line collapsed, cutting off fresh water to all 80 homes and backing up raw sewage into the central access roads. The local health department arrived within hours, issuing an emergency notice: fix the entire infrastructure system immediately or face mandatory evacuation of the entire community and fines of $10,000 per day. The corporate owners quickly learned the dark side of park ownership. Fixing a central main line isn't like replacing a broken dishwasher. It requires heavy excavators, specialized environmental engineering permits, tens of thousands of feet of industrial piping, and weeks of destructive road trenching. The emergency repair bill came back at $900,000, completely wiping out 3 years of projected net operating profit in a single afternoon. Even worse, the infrastructure crisis ignited a massive community revolt that was about to take the fight straight to City Hall. When the sewage emergency hit Oak Ridge, the residents, already furious over 2 years of aggressive rent hikes, decided they had reached their breaking point. Retired workers, veterans, and working parents formed a tenant union on the muddy front lawn of the park manager's office. They contacted local investigative reporters, exposed the failing infrastructure on evening television, and marched straight to the municipal zoning board to demand action against corporate greed. This brings us to the ultimate legal barrier that protects existing park owners, while simultaneously making life incredibly difficult for incoming corporate landlords: municipal zoning law and NIMBYism. If you wanted to build a brand new modern mobile home park today to compete with Oak Ridge and undercut their high rents, you would quickly find it almost impossible. Local suburban homeowners aggressively fight new manufactured housing developments at city council meetings. They fear that trailer parks will lower nearby property values, overcrowd local public schools, and strain municipal services. This widespread sentiment, "not in my backyard," has forced local governments across the country to effectively ban the zoning of new mobile home parks. Because local authorities almost never issue permits for new parks, the overall supply of manufactured housing communities is permanently frozen. You cannot simply build new competition down the road. Existing mobile home parks operate as localized monopolies over low-income housing. While nationwide demand for cheap shelter surges alongside relentless inflation and skyrocketing residential home prices, The total number of mobile home parks drops every single year as developers buy up older locations near major metropolitan centers to demolish them for luxury condos or distribution hubs. However, the political pushback generated by aggressive rent increases at parks like Oak Ridge has triggered a massive legislative backlash across the country. Recognizing that low-income residents are functionally trapped by the extreme costs of moving their structures, several state legislatures have introduced strict rent control legislation tailored specifically for manufactured housing. These laws cap annual lot rent increases to the local rate of inflation, instantly limiting the aggressive financial playbooks used by Wall Street funds. Furthermore, new legislation in multiple states now grants park residents the legal right of first refusal. This gives tenant unions at parks like Oak Ridge the legal right to match any corporate purchase offer, secure low-interest government-backed loans, and buy the land beneath their feet collectively as a resident-owned cooperative. For an investor, these rapid regulatory shifts represent the ultimate risk factor. A single vote at the city council or state legislature can instantly cap rental income growth, alter long-term financial modeling, and severely impact the resale valuation of the entire property. Despite these political and operational hurdles, the core business model of mobile home park investing remains one of the most powerful cash-generating mechanisms in the world of commercial real estate. By removing the unpredictable operational headaches of building maintenance, interior unit turns, and broken appliances, it isolates the underlying, compounding financial value of land ownership. When managed responsibly, with thorough technical inspections of underground pipes, fair treatment of residents, and realistic long-term capital reserves, owning a mobile home park isn't just about collecting monthly lot checks. It is about controlling a scarce, irreplaceable piece of essential infrastructure that provides housing to millions of families who have nowhere else to go. In a real estate market dominated by volatile trends, expensive shiny high-rises, and unpredictable economic cycles, the humble dirt beneath a trailer park proves that the most unglamorous investments are often the most lucrative.